Let me read something for your hearing. I'll be reading from Matthew's, the 13th chapter, verse 24 throughout verse number 30. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sows good seed in his field. But while men sleep or slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. Let's pause there for a minute. Now that sounds just like the enemy. That's what the enemy does. He waits till midnight sometimes and he come in, try and steal our joy. He mess with our children. He mess with our minds. He mess with our spirits when we are asleep. And he's always messing with us, sowing tear among your good works. But listen, let's read some more. But when the grain has sprouted and produced a crop, then the tear also appeared. So the servant of the owner came and said unto him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tears? That was a question mark. Verse 28 said, He said unto them, An enemy has done this. The servant said unto him, Do you want us then to go and gather them up? Verse 29, But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tear, you also uproot the wheat with them. Verse 30 says, Let both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, First gather together the tear and bind them into bundles to be burned. This scripture is a very familiar scripture. The version I just read was different from my Bible that I normally use, but I like this version. I'm getting used to this King James, this New King James version. But this scripture reminds me some years ago when I was in Ocala, Florida, and I was first introduced to this scripture by one of our elders by the name of Elder W.H. Livingston. He was appointed superintendent of the South Carolina Churches of God by faith, and we went to the Ocala meeting in August, and I think that was in 75 or 76 when I was a little young buck running around. But and I heard him preach from this same verse, these same verses, the tear in the wheat. And at that time, that brother really brought that message. And this verse of scripture have always stuck with me down through the years. And in 1996 or maybe 1997, the Lord brought this scripture back to me again. And at our district meeting there in Sumter, South Carolina at the Church of God by Faith, I did a message with these same scriptures, FBI agents in the church. Well, preacher, what are you trying to say? I'm trying to say today, church hurt is one of the most difficult hurts you can have. And God allowed it to happen for a reason. All of us have been hurt by church people. But the good thing about it is, when you're hurt by the church, it's only opens the avenue for God to move you to another level. Everybody won't be hurt. Some folk will stay around the church all of their lives and just complain about new saints or new members that are coming in. And they'll just sit there being dormant, doing nothing but just voicing complaints. But when you are hurt by church people, the people that you know, the people that you grew up with, people that you thought that had your back, brother, let me tell you, ain't nothing lack some church hurt. But sometimes God will allow us to go through church hurt to move us to the next dimension in Him. You remember when Moses went out and left Pharaoh's house and had been very well learnt, and he left and was out in the wilderness feeding his father-in-law's flock? He had a wilderness experience. And sometimes you can have a wilderness experience right inside the walls of the church that you attend. That hurt will cause you to be closer to God. It will cause you to cry at night because you've been hurt by folk that you thought that really love you. They love you. But the things that they have done and the things that they have said causes you to feel like sometimes you want to leave the church. And I know a whole lot of folk have done that. They've been hurt and they left one church and went to another church. Sometimes, yes, you have to do that. I don't recommend that, but sometimes it will happen for the better. But church hurt is something that helps move you to another area in your life with Christ. You become more dependent on Christ than people. And sometimes God will allow this to happen so that you won't be dependent or you will become delivered from people. A lot of us in the church right now need to be delivered from folk. You need to be delivered from your best friend. You need to be delivered from some family members that's always saying negative stuff. Never have nothing good to say. They're always holding you accountable for things that you've done 20 and 30 years ago and always bringing it up. And a lot of times this happens for a reason, to get you to move where God wants you to be. And if it don't happen to us, if church hurt don't come, we'll become complacent. We'll become dormant, right in the same rut, never have a close walk with God, never have a close experience with Him, don't get to know Him for yourself, trying to live off your grandmama and your granddaddy and your uncles and your pastor's testimony. But when you have been pushed out into the wilderness experience, you get to know God for yourself. So I came to tell you, don't let that church hurt stop you from going to church, because you got some bad folk in the church. You got bad folk in the choir. You got bad preachers in the pulpit. You got them everywhere. You got lay members in the church that just, for some reason, they just want to keep a lot of stuff going on. But don't allow them to stop you from going to church. Don't allow them to not have a relationship with Christ. You got to have your own experience with Christ. And like I said earlier on last month, those midnight cries are really good. Some of these things that people do to us make us cry, and it's hurtful. But it only makes you better, and it pushes you closer to God. So don't worry about the tear and the wheat. Just let it grow together. And on the day of harvesting, God said, I'll do the separating. Don't let the enemy bother you. Don't let them folk that are always talking about something you did 40 years ago and they want to keep holding against you. Don't worry about them folk. You get your little praise on, you keep your praise going, and you move forward. And I'll assure you, God will take you to the next level. I'm out of here. I'm gone. As always, I'll talk to you soon. May God ever bless you and God ever keep you. We'll see you soon. Later.